Welcome everyone. So this is the AI for Green Industry panel, and we'll be talking about environmental challenges, which are becoming more urgent every day. How can we leverage AI to fight climate change? AI has so many potential applications with many hopes. AI allows us to optimize processes, to automate tasks, hopefully to be more clever about the usage of our resources, but there are concerns. The AI industry may not be so responsible and green, and it can be very energy consuming. Also, not all solutions are for green. So the good news is we've got a panel of brilliant people who are leveraging AI for greener industry. So I'll be presenting everyone. I'm Fred Mazzella from France Digitale. And with us, we will have Bruno Maisonnier, the CEO of Anotherbrain. So Bruno, hello Bruno, you founded in 2017 Anotherbrain, which brings a new generation of AI, an AI which is bio-inspired, frugal by design, and self-learning. In a previous life, you founded Aldebaran Robotics. We'll remember now the humanoid robot. You're about technology for the people. Have co-founder COO of Quantcube Technology. Hello, Ghizlaine.
Good afternoon.
You're with
Hi,
us?
everyone.
Hi. So you've been leading the growth of Quantcube since 2014. Quantcube is a fintech specialized in economic intelligence powered by AI. It provides investors and institutions with predictive indicators processed with AI. Welcome, Ghizlaine. And we have Arnaud de Moissac, CEO of DCbrain. Hello, Arnaud. You created a first startup on the theme of data centers. Then you co-founded DCbrain in 2014. DCbrain is a leading SaaS solution based on AI to allow that works and publishes on responsible AI and AI for green. So I have a first question to all of you, which will be simple. What's your vision of a greener AI industry? So is it a green AI, which means a more frugal, less energy consuming AI? Or is it an AI for green, which means applications with sustainable goals run by AI? Which one, to your understanding, seems the most promising in terms of impact? So maybe we'll begin with you, Bruno.
Hi, so welcome everyone, welcome home. I think the two topics are very important. The first one is to make AI greener means reducing consumption and reducing the number of data that we need to use for AI. There have been studies from MIT saying that it can cost up to 500 kilowatts just to grow one neural network, and it can produce carbon emission like 5 cars during their whole life to produce only one neural network. So it's key topic is very important to reduce that. And it's what we are doing at Anotherbrain. One of our technology is doing that. But the other topic for me is very important. Collectively, we have much difficulties to reduce problems of environment, for instance. And for me, the reason is not because the politicians are bad guys, because President of the United States of the others. The real subject for me is because it's very, very complex and difficult one. So if we could help through AI to bring kind of additional intelligence to humanity to solve this question, it will be very great. And I think it's needed. So both are important for me, Fred.
Okay. What about you, Ghizlaine?
Well, I share the comments of Bruno, I would say. I think both approaches should be considered and addressed using AI to solve environmental challenges, which is more the focus of Quantcube, but also using AI in a more sustainable and environmental friendly way. So for the first latter, the environmental impact of artificial intelligence has been a hot topic as of late, and I believe it will be a defining issue for this decade. We can see it as a pure AI company that there has been a trend in creating larger AI models to give better performance on tasks, especially in natural language processing and computer vision. And we all know that larger models require more data and computation power to train, run, and therefore create more emissions at the end of the day. So developing and deploying greener AI should be a consideration for alleviating these issues, of course. And related to the sustainable and environmental friendly applications, I think that advances in machine intelligence are one bright spot in a gloomy environmental picture, because thanks to the ability of processing large volumes of data, we can go deeper into the planet's natural processes and better understand what is happening at the ecosystem level, from our use of resources to changing meteorological patterns and the impact of human behavior in all of this. And this is really the purpose of Quantcube.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Arnaud, from DCbrain?
For me, of course, it's two very hot topics. The first one, the green AI part, for me, it's just a small part of a green IT issue we need to address all together. AI or not AI, we know that IT has a real impact on the environmental energy footprint of the human being. So we need to work not only on the impact of IT, but on the impact of IT. Of AI, sorry, but of IT. And the second part, AI is really an already working solution to help us to fight the climate change and to save energy and to control our impact on environment. For instance, at DCbrain, we already apply some or solution based on AI to, for instance, reduce the consumption of district heat network, to allow better integration of renewable energy on the gas grid or electrical grid, to allow the introduction on hydrogen on the gas grid too, because those topics are very complex and you need AI to do that. And we also help the supply chain vendors to operator to be able to respond to the new complexity of the world by doing more with less. I mean, with the same number of trucks on the road, or same number of boats, you can carry more goods with less fewer carbon footprint.
Okay, I guess we'll get into the exact meaning of all this a bit later. I'll begin with a question for you as well, Bruno Maisonnier from Anotherbrain, on green AI. So the first question is, why did you decide to develop a frugal and greener AI? I mean, was there a problem that you really wanted to solve? What is it?
The roots of this new company, Anotherbrain, come from Aldebaran Robotics, a company who produced the robots now on paper. Those robots are great, amazing, but at the same time, they are not aware at all of what's happening around. And when people understand that they are just automatons, it's kind of destroying the connections, the relationship between the robot and the people. So we have to bring to robots an ability to understand the surroundings. So this is the beginning of my reflection about AI. And this question is the same for self-driving cars, is the same for many different things, objects. And if we want to have, let's say, autonomously behaving robots and tools and toys and IoT stuff, we need to have frugal AI. That means we cannot consume lots of energy. We don't have lots of space. So the beginning of this project of Anotherbrain was, okay, how to bring real intelligence, real ability to understand the surrounding, even though it's not able to categorize and catalog every situation the robot will be confronted to, and at the same time to provide it is a very low energy consumption. So this was a big.
Yeah, and you say your AI is up to 200 times less energy consuming. Can you explain?
Our goal and the previous development we've already done, so it's based on something existing, goes for a chip that will consume a fraction of a watt, let's say 0.2, 0.3 watt. So if I'm comparing with the average NVIDIA chips that are running the neural network systems are consuming 15 to 20 watts. So yes.
So, but is it because you make more with the hardware and less with the software, or why do you achieve such a comparison mix? Because like 200 times less is a lot.
Yeah, it's a very good question because it's not working the same way at all. You know, we had in the beginning of artificial intelligence this idea that what's happening in the brain is very complex, very messy, and limitation of nature. So we have computers that can go for far higher power, computer power. So let's invent an AI system that is not limited on reproducing the brain. But we are addressing the exactly opposite approach. You know, our brain, for the cognitive part, is consuming something like 5 watts. 5 watts for all what we are doing as cognitive things. So how is it doing that? It's because it's not working at all like a huge neural network, but it's more working like a multi-agent system. I'm always making the comparison with the honeybees or with the termites. That means a lot of different agents that each of one is, let's say, stupid, but able to provide 10, 20 rules, and combine together, make something emerging. And in the brain, in the cortex, the rule of this agent is done by the microcolons, cortical colons. So we are all discovering the more and more importance, higher importance of these cortical colons, but they are the basic agents of what is making the brain smart without needing huge of data and without consuming a lot of energy. So we are.
And will your chip be? So there are other applications for your chips, for your AI chips? Is it only for robots, or is it for something else as well?
Each time we will need to have a sensor understanding in the real sense what's in front of it, data it's collecting, then we will have application. So it will be useful for drones, it will be useful for vacuum cleaner robots, self-driving cars, missiles, defense, and this kind of questions. And for industry too, because it's really helpful in understanding the problems in parts coming from production line. So it's one of our first applications.
Okay, thank you. Ghizlaine, Amrani from Quantcube. So on AI for green, so Quantcube uses AI for macroeconomics, and now you are developing AI for ESG data. So why do you think AI can help us build a new generation of ESG indicators?
I mean, AI here is really at the center of our initiative, and this is really what makes possible the creation of this new generation of ESG indicators. For us, Quantcube, developing those ESG indicators was kind of a natural path for us, aligned with our first objective to help our clients to take better and more informed decisions, with the aim and purpose to orient their decisions towards a more sustainable approach. This includes, of course, ESG criteria. So about ESG, we talk about everything related to environmental impact, social and governance, of course, as a reminder. And to develop those indicators, we are completely disrupting the ESG data market. We are solving one of the major issues faced by all types of companies and corporations willing to take actions for a more sustainable and greener business approach. And this issue is about data intelligence. Because if we take a closer look today on the ESG data market, we will notice that most of the available data is self-declarative, qualitative rather than quantitative, and available with a huge time lag. So at Quantcube, what we provide is a real-time monitoring of the sustainable impact for more than 300,000 worldwide fixed assets related directly to more than 2,000 listed companies. It is really about real-time, quantitative, and unbiased sustainable measures.
So why does real-time make such a difference on this kind of data, which seems to be like we're talking about impact, about things which can last for, I mean, decades or maybe centuries. So why is real-time so important on this kind of data?
Real time is really important because whenever you would like to take actions today with the available data, you will rely on data which is actually lagged for 1 year, 6 months, and so on. If you have to monitor your actions and to be more efficient regarding managing your assets, your facilities, and so on, having a real-time picture and real-time measurements helps you to monitor and derive those changes. This is really important. You can monitor on a continuous basis and at the same time on a real time. This is I mean, makes a complete and a huge difference about the way how we can manage our greener and I would say sustainable approach.
Okay, and what kind of data do you analyze, and why is AI so relevant for processing those data?
Well, we analyze mainly alternative data. We enable a kind of the planet to speak, and we collect a lot of information. So when we talk about alternative data, it can be satellite imagery, for instance, using high resolution images. It can be atmospherical data with the new generation of satellites, having a certain type of sensors. We can have measurements of NO2 emissions, CO2 emissions in a very accurate way. We also analyze and gather textual data, so text, and also everything related to geolocation data. So we can see it's a huge spectrum of data and alternative. As I said, we really allow the planet to speak and give us a lot of information in order to analyze it. And to analyze those types and to process those type of data that are unstructured and really huge and massive, you need AI. For text, you need natural language processing. For images, you need computer vision. And AI is really key here to handle this huge amount of data, critical to analyze those type of unstructured data, and also to manage your analytical process at a scale that we are willing to do. As I said, watching over more than 300,000 assets all around the world, which is really huge.
Okay, thank you very much. Arnaud from DCbrain on AI for green again, and we get your point on the fact that green AI is part of green IT. So how do you optimize physical processes with AI at DCbrain? And do you have an example? You talked briefly about the example, and now we'll have some more details again.
Yeah, sure. So perhaps we can take as a physical system the supply chain networks. I think during the first lockdown, everybody realized how critical are the supply chain regarding basic goods like food, medic, etc. And we also all realized how huge a stress are this network. Just a few more days at a border, for instance, or warehouse capacity reduction because of a lockdown, and all the European supply chain were on their knees. So if you take such a system, such a complex system, when you talk about optimizing those systems, you talk about reliability, cost efficiency, and of course climate change because of CO2 emission of trucks, boats, trains, etc. And so how can you use AI to optimize such systems? Well, first you have to take into account that those systems are getting too much complex to be handled by just a human. When you have to handle thousands of different suppliers, tons of different way to carry your goods, different way to consume, and a very dynamic way to consume all those goods, it's no more possible to use just your brain, your human brain to deal with that. And moreover, regarding the dynamics of the system, the uncertainty is a kind of new normal because every day you have unexpected events, etc., etc. So you need to have some helps to optimize such a physical system. And if you use a classical way to do that, like classical algorithm, optimization algorithm, operational research, etc., it's far too slow to give an operational help to people because if you need every question you have between 1 day to 1 week of computation to get your answer, it doesn't work at all. So you need to have a really faster system to answer the question. But in the meantime, you can't only use pure machine learning approaches because machine learning, as you know, is a kind of statistical way to give answer. And when you have some hard physical constraint, like the number of goods you can put in a truck, the time period to deliver your goods, and stuff like that, you need to have something very deterministic. So you need the fast capacity of calculation of machine learning and kind of rigorous of classical approaches. And that's why a good way to optimize such a physical system is to do some hybrid AI. It's more or less what DeepMind done when they won the World Go Challenge. They mixed classical approach, Monte Carlo research, with neural networks, and the neural networks were there to give a kind of intuition to the AI developed by DeepMind. And you can do exactly the same to optimize the physical system, because the classical part of your algorithm will be able to take into account some very hard physical constraints, and the machine learning part, deep learning, reinforcement learning, whatever part of your system, will give you the power, the speed to give the good answer in a good time you need, not in days or weeks, but in minutes or hours. And that's exactly what you do with the Python.
Okay, so you're kind of a B2B BlaBlaCar, I would say, although you're not a platform.
Part of this.
But you're not a platform, though, as I understand. So I have another question, and then we've got a question also from the, I would say from the floor, but actually from the audience. So my first question, before we go to the question of the audience, was: do you think Green AI is a specific problem to AI? And you partly answered that, but you said, so okay, Green AI is just a part of Green IT, but what other, do you see other parts of Green IT which may be more promising than Green AI, or do we have a lot to expect from Green AI?
Well, I think that Green AI, we can offer to Green AI as an excuse just to focus on the consumption, energy consumption of AI, and to forget all the rest of the IT. And as Bruno said, the data themselves are consuming a lot of energy, the storage, the processing, etc. So it's not just a matter of AI, but it's really a matter of IT. I'm part of the board of Impact AI. That's a think tank of with lots of different organizations, startup, big corporate stuff, and we think on that. And almost everyone is agreeing to tell that we don't need, we definitely need to focus on the global impact of IT and not just on AI. But of course, AI need to be controlled. The consumption of AI need to be controlled. But please don't forget that you need network, you need that database, you need storage, you need everything in order to make that AI run.
Okay, so now two questions from the floor. The first question is for you. So AI enhanced, no, it's for Ghizlaine, sorry. The first question we have is: AI enhanced ESG ratings are provided by Sensefolio, Arabesque, True Value Lab, and how are you different at Quantcube?
Yeah, we are different because actually we are, as I said, systematizing the whole process. Of course, a couple of years ago, the technology didn't exist because the data didn't exist. I'm talking about new generation of, for instance, satellite, of satellite with new sensors. We are able today to access those data, to analyze it on a real-time basis, and therefore to provide some very accurate measurements and KPIs. The approach is really to provide to the whole users and to whole decision makers with a bunch of reliable and compelling indicators on a real-time basis that are objective, that are not self-decorative. We enable the data really to speak in order to improve the decision-making process. And at the end of the day, the main challenge and the huge ambition behind this initiative is really to emerge the one unique standard of all ESG ratings and measurements.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the other question from the floor is for you, Bruno, from Anotherbrain. Do you have high-level cognitive representations generated, or is it or still perception level? Is it a multi-agent system?
No, it's high level. our system is based on deep hierarchy. So that means from basic perception, basic elementary representations, the system by hierarchy is assembling that up to concept and high-level concept and doing the very same in the other sense around for the smart action. So our system is going from smart perception to smart action, including going up to really the cognitive part of high-level abstraction.
Okay, thank you. We have one very last question, and then I think we'll come to the end of this talk. So the last question to all, and I'll ask you to be brief because we're already a bit over time. So the question is, according to you, what's the next big step or revolution in the AI for green industry? You have 30 seconds each. So let's start with you, Bruno.
I think we all need a new generation of AI. Of course, I'm speaking about what we are doing, but we need to go for the next generation. The deep learning AI, for me, is already taken by the GAFA and the BATX. So it's already done. They want this race, and they are so powerful, so rich, so smart that we never will go after them. But what we can do is to jump over this generation to go to the next generation. And this is not a question of billions of dollars. It's more a question of finding the right way. And here we are great and smart collectively in France, and we can do that.
Okay. What about you, Ghizlaine?
Yeah, I think for a greener AI, we should not minimize the importance of the hardware. We are currently witnessing a proliferation of specialized hardware that not only offers better performance on deep learning tasks, but also increase efficiency as well, and therefore reduce the carbon footprint of the AI. And on the, I would say, green application side, I think it's much more aligned with what we are trying to do within Quantcube, because if we want to drive a more sustainable and greener approach, at the end of the day, we need to really rely on data. And those data has to be transparent, has to be accurate, real-time, and objective.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Arnaud from DCbrain. What do you see as the next big step?
Yes, for me, it's a combinatorial optimization. I mean that when you want to optimize the physical world or physical processes, you need to choose between billions of different solutions. And that's combinatorial optimization. So if you want to optimize the real world, you need to do that. And hybrid AI is a way to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've learned a lot on AI for green and on green AI. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you very much. So we had on this session Bruno from Anotherbrain, Ghizlaine from Quantcube, and Arnaud from DCbrain. Thank you very much. And thank you. And right after us, we will have the pleasure to have a speech by Frédéric, our Minister for Digital in France. And thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Bye.
Thank you all.